Treptower Park, and it was set up in like an English garden style, so it's meant to be like a sort of the central park of Berlin. But now you can see where this coach is on the left-hand side. I want you to look to the left. You're going to see a big archway, and you're going to see 1945 written there, which is referring to the Battle of Berlin. So now we have a massive Soviet memorial up through there on the left-hand side. The Battle of Berlin was a horrendous battle. Adolf Hitler refused to surrender. So he had the Hitler Youth, children, fighting against the Soviets. He had women fighting who would normally not fight, and he had men who were deemed medically unfit for military service fighting because they ran out of soldiers. In fact, they ran out of ammunition, and it was hand-to-hand combat. It was fighting with the hands, with knives, with bayonets, with whatever they could have. And in some recounts of the battle, they say that in the park, which was the Tiergarten over the other side, there was so many bodies on the ground that you couldn't see a single blade of grass. It was pointless. There was 80,000 Soviet soldiers that died in the single battle alone, and for that reason there's now 3 Soviet memorials in the city. In fact, that one that we just drove past there is where we have the only symbol of the swastika that is surviving in Germany, or in Berlin. I think there's another one somewhere else, but the only one in Berlin is that swastika in a public space, as it's now a legal requirement that you do not have that. So we're coming into the city now. We're kind of just on the outskirts. Berlin has a major river that runs through. Are we going to turn right up here, or no? Okay. Yeah, okay, go. So if you just look to your right as we drive up here, you might be able to see there's a bridge over the top, and that's the main bridge over the main river, which goes through the city, which is the River Spree, S-P-R-E-E. Kind of just looks like traffic, but I promise you there is a river there. Berlin was set up as like there was a little island, or kind of like a fork, where the river divided into 2, and there was a village that was set up there hundreds of over 1,000 years ago, and from there it built up more and more and more to being the city that it is today. For those of you that are doing the Berlin Plus tomorrow, when we go up the Berlin TV tower, at the base of the tower, there's a virtual reality experience. Now, I'm a big nerd, I know that, but I think it's super duper cool. You can put the virtual reality headset on, and it shows you how Berlin grew from like this little village as a fork in the river into modern Berlin today. It goes for about 20 minutes. It's not included in the price, you have to pay extra. I think it's about €10. And my understanding is anyone off the street can walk into the TV tower. You can walk into the TV tower and pay for this virtual reality experience to see like the formation of Berlin through the years. It's really, really cool. I think it's really cool. If you're into that, you put that headset on, so as you move your head left and right, you can look around the city from the beginning to today. Berlin has a symbol, okay? The symbol of Berlin is a bear. You're going to see a bear everywhere. You're going to see lots of bears around. They're called buddy bears. I'll talk more about them later if I see one, which we will. But the flag of Berlin, straight ahead you can see that TV tower now. So, tallest building in Germany. That was built during the communist era. So that was in the eastern side. That was in the communist side. West capitalist, east communist. Yeah, the bear is the symbol of Berlin. In fact, there's a belief that the name Berlin comes from Berlin, which is like the place of the bear. So we see that. We've just crossed over where one of the walls, there's actually several walls of Berlin walls. People don't understand. It was divided into 2 sections. There was a wall, and then there was a no man's land, and then there was another wall. But we're currently in West Berlin over here, so we were in the capitalist side. This is a really trendy, cool area. This is where you've got a lot of restaurants. You can see there's a lot of graffiti, and to a lot of people it looks disgusting, I understand. There's a massive street art scene in Berlin, so it's... Some people find Berlin very dirty, okay? I'll be honest with you. A lot of people say Berlin's gross, it's dirty. I disagree. It's maybe not manicured like other cities. For me, it's real, okay? It's a real living city. On this side of the city is like a very trendy, there's a lot of hipsters, because this was the capitalist side. But this was the side where a lot of people left, because you've got to understand, when Germany was split in two, the border between East and West Germany was hundreds of kilometers west from here. But Berlin was also divided in two. So if you lived in West Germany, it wasn't just East communist over the other side of the city. You were completely surrounded by communism all around. But you were allowed to leave because you were in a capitalist side. So you could get a flight out, and that's what a lot of people did. So what it meant was a lot of people leaving meant that in West Germany, rent became very, very cheap. This is where we see a lot of the multiculturalism. We see people coming here for better opportunities. We get a lot of the Middle Eastern cultures. We get a lot of the Asian migrants coming. And this is where we get a lot of alternative thinkers. So we get a lot of music, alternative music. Berlin's very famous for its music, particularly techno, for its dance music. But it also had a thriving rock industry. And we're in the area where all these rock bars used to be. So it's a very, it's a live city. Everywhere that you go, there's a culture, it's different. You'll see people of all different sorts are here. You'll see people that are covered in piercings and tattoos. You'll see people that are wearing fluorescent colors, and everyone has a place in Berlin. I love Berlin, but I will warn you, it's not as pretty as some of the other cities. It's a real city. For me, if I meet a German, I can tell within about 5 minutes if they're from Berlin or not. They're so different to the rest of the other parts of Germany. So I always say, you're either German or you're a Berliner. It's very, very different. So yeah, just to sort of set your expectation there a little bit. Some people find it dirty, or you'll see maybe more people out on the streets. I guess we're in a big major city, so there's certainly more homelessness in Berlin than some of the other places that we've been. And sometimes people, it puts a bitter taste in their mouth. Berlin's a safe city, okay? Of course, you need to be cautious. There's still pickpockets. It's a major city. There's still people that are trying to take advantage, but it's not as dangerous as your Barcelonas, your Paris, or your Romes, in my opinion, anyway. Be smart, but yeah, it's sometimes confronting for people. But yeah, West Berlin, where we are now. So this was the capitalist side. The way that it worked is, following World War II, there was this decision that we can't impose the same bans that we did in the Treaty of Versailles, because it didn't work, and we had war 20 years after the Treaty of Versailles. So we need to divide up Germany and take control. So USSR, the liberators, Soviets, the communists took the eastern side of Europe, the eastern side of Germany. The capitalists, later known as NATO, so the communists will be known as the Warsaw Pact. The others, the allies, we're talking America, France, Britain, and to a lesser degree Canada. But we'll talk mainly France, Britain, and America. They divided it. They took one side and divided their side into 3 sections. Okay, so America had a section, England had a section, England had a section, and France had a section, whereas on the east was just USSR. Okay, so the city of Berlin, being the capital, was divided into 2, whereas the country was divided. Now, initially, there was no wall, okay? You could move freely between the 2 places, but the problem is, as I mentioned, with communists, a lot of people wanted to leave, and you would go into the capitalist side to then leave, and so this is when we start to see the Berlin Wall constructed to stop people from fleeing. But of course, can't have that without a little bit of propaganda. It was to protect them from the Nazis in the West, they'll say. Just on your right, you'll see a few people dining by this little station here. That was red for him, red for him. On your left now, so that is an old toilet. You can get a burger in. Very West Berlin. But that's called Bergmeister. That is honestly one of the best burgers that you're gonna have in Berlin, okay, or in Germany, or in your life, okay? It's toilet of a train station. The train's above us. Very Berlin. This over here, you can see Mr. Sparty. Sparty is a local term for a convenience store. And in Germany, it is legal to drink on the streets. So people will go in there, you'll get a beer for like €1 from the Spazi, and then you walk around, you have a beer, and the correct thing to do once you've finished with your beer is to leave the bottle on the footpath. Why? Because they get money for those bottles. So people come around and collect them, don't put them in the bin, it goes to landfill. You put them on the side and people collect them and return them. Just to your right, there's a nice little bar area there. It's like a little beer garden. We're going to be crossing over the River Spree in a moment. And on your right, you're going to see a art installation, which is metallic 3 men coming together. And the idea behind that is called the Molecule Men. The idea behind that is the artist says that we are merely just molecules that have made our way here by coincidence. But by the way that we've come together, we have become the human body. And if we as humans come together, what else could we achieve? So it's a fairly modern installation, but you'll see it on the right-hand side. It's a metal statue. It's like 20 meters tall with holes in it. You can see it on the right-hand side now. On the left, you'll see the TV tower. There was actually an interesting thing that happened a few years ago, right up the top of that. As I said, it's over 20 meters tall. Someone chained a bicycle to the top. How they got it there, no one knows. This whole area here is quite controversial, really. What you'll notice is we're crossing over from West to East Berlin at the moment, okay? This was the no man's land. We were in West Berlin, this was no man's land. The other side of the River Spree was the East Berlin, so we're coming into the communist side. This is in fact where the East Side Gallery is, but what we've seen here is a lot of new construction. So you can see like these hotels, and you got the Mercedes Center near where we're staying. And a lot of people, a lot of Berliners don't like it. They say it's very uncharacteristic of the city, and yeah, a lot of Berliners don't like the culture. Another good place for food, if you like schnitzel, is going to be just on your right-hand side under this train station. Shears Schnitzel. Cheap, quick, really, really nice. Yeah, so and you'll see lots of doner kebab stores now that we're coming into Berlin. So yep, we're now in East Berlin. This was the communist side, okay? So the wall was installed in the 1960s. One morning, people woke up and all of a sudden, there was a temporary fence, so you couldn't go from one side of the city to the other. Now, very unfortunate if you worked in East Berlin, but you lived in West Berlin or vice versa. Even more inconvenient if you had family or friends that lived on the other side, because from 62 or 61 even, all of a sudden, you couldn't cross over. No, you weren't allowed to cross over. And that would be the case all the way up until 1989. Okay, so people wouldn't see their family for nearly 30 years. Can you imagine that? There was no warning. It just went up overnight. And the communists would say they were stopping the neo-Nazis, or the Nazis that had survived from coming and destroying them. We are your liberators. But the reality was they were stopping people from fleeing, okay? And the Berlin Wall divided families, divided people until there was a confusing live TV article, or news event where basically someone said something that, oh, the wall is coming down. They went in, the wall's coming down. It was never meant to be, and people saw this news report and they all started coming to the wall. It was merely confusion, and then there was thousands of people that came to the wall. The guards were overwhelmed. They said, what do we do? What do we do? And they said, let the people through. And then people started to bring household tools and chip away at the Berlin Wall, and thus will lead the way to a soon-to-be reunited Germany. So we have the unification of Germany of 1871. That's when Germany was formed, and then the reunification, of course, by the 1992 Olympics in Barcelona, will finally have Germany as Germany rather than West and East Germany, and of course the fall of communism. So yes, you can see a lot of skaters. It's a lot of the street art around the place. Again, people see that as dirty, but you might have seen a lot of red and blue street art. They sort of, it kind of looks like painted from the top down. That's a very famous crew that run here in Berlin. Yeah, there's several crews that are like anonymous. They do some pretty incredible stuff. Like there's a crew that was sitting on top of a train and we're riding a train through the city and like using that train to do paintings on buildings that were like not accessible from any other way. So like pretty daredevil type stuff that they do, but it is a big part of the culture. But I understand like a lot of these tags around the place make the city look a bit dirty. We're passing another Bergmeister here on the right. If you don't like the idea of eating a burger in a former toilet, you can go into a store and have Bergmeister, but the one by the toilet's probably the most famous. We're just going to be coming past that. It'll be on the left-hand side of the coach in a moment as we turn the corner. But anyway, team, we are very close to the hotel. Just a couple of things. The hotel that we're staying at, we're in a fantastic location. Okay, we're nice and close to a train station, so we can walk around nice and easily. We're right in the city centre, so you can get a train, or you could walk. Like you can walk over to the East Side Gallery, which is the art installation on the former Berlin Wall. It's all original wall still, and very, very good location. The hotel is basic, okay? It's a basic accommodation. It's a little outdated. It's simple rooms. But as I say, it's the location that we've got here. So just to set your expectations, like a very basic hotel, but in a very good location. So the plan from here, team, is I will run ahead and go into reception and grab the bags. Grab the keys. If you grab your bags, I will then come outside. I will then hand out the keys to you guys. You'll have time to freshen up, check in, freshen up, and of course we are meeting as per the day sheet at 5:30. So just out the front where the coach dropped us off at 5:30, ready for the driving tour. From the driving tour, we're going to be making our way straight into dinner.